Global Vision presents the television news magazine of Southern Africa.
It doesn't exist on television, and it doesn't exist.
I would actually appeal to the world that information is there and can be found.
Because it is important that people know what is happening.
This week, South Africa Now looks at these stories. Trade unions on trial. An American union gets involved.
Moses Mayekiso is looking at a long prison sentence, possibly, for doing something in South Africa that he would probably win awards for in America.
From Mozambique, the scene of a crime. An Irish television documentary.
The question that Mozambicans ask wherever you go is, what is the price we are going to pay?
And from the new home video, Rhythms of Resistance, a most unusual singing contest. All these stories and more with hosts Fana, Kekana and Carolyn Craven.
Siyakulega. Two new reports highlight mounting human rights abuses in South Africa. Inside the country, the Indicator Project reports that state repression has fueled political violence and released a new figure of 4,000 dead since 1985. In Washington, the annual State Department Survey of Human Rights says the situation inside South Africa has gotten worse. Stuart Sender has more.
The State Department report is a comprehensive indictment of South African practices, and it has outraged the government in Pretoria. But it has also surprised critics, in that it seems to be an admission that after 8 years of constructive engagement, the situation in South Africa has gotten worse. Illinois Senator Paul Simon is chairman of the Subcommittee for African Affairs.
The report clearly indicates there is a continuing problem in South Africa, and I think that problem is going to continue until you recognize that apartheid has to go and you have to give opportunity to all people.
The report makes these points. 1. Political violence on the rise. The report suggests the existence of police death squads operating inside and outside the country. 2. Detention. More than 30,000 people have been detained since June 1986. 1,500 were still in jail at year's end. 3. Torture. The severe beating and torture of political detainees continues, including children. 4. Banning intensified. 32 organizations were banned in 1988. The report implicates the government in the murder of anti-apartheid activists, including African National Congress Paris representative Dulcie September, the attempted assassination of ANC legal expert Albie Sacks in Mozambique, and the highly publicized death of Godfrey Dhlomo, the young activist who appeared in the CBS documentary Children of Apartheid and was found dead just days after being questioned by police. The report notes that nearly all these mysterious killings remain unsolved. The South African government objects to the report. While declining an on-camera interview, Embassy spokesperson Alayne Resberg read this statement over the phone.
The embassy is disappointed that several of the criticisms leveled at the South African government in this report were based largely on unsubstantiated reports. In addition, we'd like to point out that the judicial system in South Africa has always enjoyed the respect of the international community, and we are surprised that this report calls into question this well-earned reputation.
Human rights activist Mariam Lacob of Africa Watch says the State Department is on target.
You don't need any adjectives. It's all there. And anyone who goes through the facts and documents them carefully is inevitably going to come up with a rather horrible picture.
Human rights is going to have to continue to be stressed by our government, and I think will be stressed by our government. And I think you will see the Bush administration with James Baker as Secretary of State stronger on this than the Reagan administration has been.
Still, Simon is not waiting for the White House. As we spoke with him on March 4th, he was heading to the Senate floor to introduce a new sanctions bill.
We are introducing legislation again today, similar to legislation that was introduced last year, calling for strengthening sanctions. We want peaceful change in South Africa. Apartheid is going to go. The only question is whether it's going to go after massive violence or whether it will go peacefully. We want to bring about peaceful change.
Human rights is the critical issue in the treason trial of union leader Moses Mayekiso, accused of organizing nonviolent anti-apartheid protests 4 years ago. Mayekiso and his co-defendants have already spent years in prison awaiting trial. The case has been taken up in this country by the United Auto Workers Union. Nadja Smith has more.
The UAW sees the Mayekiso case as an attack on South Africa's black unions, and they have taken that message to the streets, picketing outside the South African embassy in Washington. Foreign pressure won Mayekiso's release on bail, but he remains on trial, possibly facing the death penalty. Don Stillman is International Affairs Director for the UAW.
The black unions are one of the few forces left still in an organized way able to take on the apartheid system. The UDF and some of the other opposition groups have been badly decimated by the states of emergency declared by the government going back several years. So the removal of Moses Mayekiso, he served 901 days in jail, and he is at this moment on trial for treason. We see as a direct attack on the black unions in that country.
Yale University President Benno Schmidt, seen here with Mayekiso at the South African Supreme Court, is observing the trial.
Our initial interest in this case began after we learned of Mr. Mayekiso's and his co-defendants' lengthy detention by the police, including months of solitary confinement for all but one of the defendants, without any charges being filed by the state. Such a conception of lengthy detention without access to attorneys would be totally illegal and unacceptable in my country.
Moses Mayekiso is looking at a long prison sentence, possibly, if he's convicted of treason, for doing something in South Africa that he would probably win awards for in America.
Sunday, March 12th, has been designated as a National Day of Solidarity with those on hunger strike or in detention in South Africa. Adotei Akwei, Research Director of the American Committee on Africa, told us about it.
Sympathy fasts are being planned, petition campaigns are being initiated. Anti-apartheid groups and student organizations are taking this issue very seriously. They are all over the country. The people are organizing towards March 12th, which is National Detainees Day.
As the Winnie Mandela controversy simmers, there are fresh reports that there may have been police infiltration into the now disbanded Mandela Football Club, some of whose members have been arrested recently.
Could the South African police have orchestrated the affair? The African National Congress thinks they were agent provocateurs. Now, the Soweto community leaders believe that the bodyguard whose claim of sexual abuse led to the incident was a police spy. Also, Reuters reports that Jerry Richardson, the ex-coach of the team, was a former policeman. Richardson has admitted a role in several violent incidents. Newspapers in South Africa are continuing to investigate the police infiltration rumors.
You are watching South Africa Now, the television news magazine that goes behind the headlines.
Each week we report on news involving Namibia, South Africa's colony now slated for independence. Here's some more information about that country.
Namibia is the size of California, Oregon, and Washington state combined, possesses the largest uranium mine in the world, and is a major producer of gem diamonds. 6% of Namibia's 1.5 million people are white. They control 80% of the farmland. Whites earn an average of 18 times the salary of blacks. Governed by South Africa since 1915, the World Court declared the South African presence illegal in 1971. The UN plan for Namibian independence begins April 1st.
Recently, there have been reports of new attacks against civilians in Mozambique by a shadowy guerrilla army called Renamo. The war inside Mozambique has resulted in thousands of deaths and left the country devastated. Recently, South Africa's Reverend Alayne Resberg told us about an Irish documentary that impressed him. It impressed us too. Here is the American television preview of Mozambique, The Scene of a Crime, directed by Mary Raftery.
This is the village of Kafumpe in central Mozambique. Last July, the village was virtually destroyed. 92 houses were burnt to the ground, 400 people were left homeless. This woman had just been told that her baby granddaughter had died of injuries sustained during the raid. In 2 raids within a fortnight of each other, 5 people were killed. Several of the villagers were kidnapped and have not been seen since. The attacks on Kafumpe were carried out by an anti-government force which calls itself the Mozambique National Resistance, the MNR. Most Mozambicans simply call them armed bandits. The bandits have no policies and show no interest in taking power. Their only aim appears to be the destruction of Mozambique and its people. There are no signs of any popular support for the bandits, yet they continue to survive. The explanation lies in the politics of the whole region of southern Africa, in particular the politics of apartheid. Until 12 years ago, South Africa was surrounded by friendly neighbours, countries run by minority white regimes. But in 1975, after the revolution in Portugal, its colonies of Angola and Mozambique gained independence with socialist black governments. 5 years later, in 1980, White Rhodesia fell, replaced by Zimbabwe, with Robert Mugabe leader of the new socialist government. There is clear evidence that South Africa finances, trains and equips the MNR. Politically, they have a vested interest in doing so.
This is a very particular type of war. It's a generalized terroristic war. It's not a war to take power. It's not a war of a movement to take power over another movement, against another movement. They attack infrastructure, economic infrastructure. First of all, the railway lines, which are an alternative for the countries of the region to their dependence on the South African railway system. They kill people. They kill mainly people who know something. For example, a teacher in a village. He's the first one to go. And then they used other terroristic tactics like mutilating people, cutting the ears off, noses, breasts of women, arms, decapitating people, attacking lorry drivers, train drivers. And it's this type of generalized terrorism that is aimed at making Mozambique unworkable and making Mozambicans scared.
In July, the bandits attacked the town of Hamoine on the coast 150 miles north of Maputo. 424 people were killed, including patients in the local hospital. Women with newborn babies were shot dead as they lay in the maternity ward.
About 100 meters away from where I was hiding, I saw them kill a young girl of 16 by throwing her to the ground and shooting her. They shot a young woman who was running away carrying her child. Then they shot the child.
Passado tempo,
the Mozambican army has 15,000 troops. Military service is compulsory. Defence spending amounts to 1/3 of the government's total expenditure. But in one of the world's poorest economies, this still leaves the army badly equipped and trained. Some have gone without pay for over 9 months. Soldiers patrol across thousands of miles of dense mountainous terrain. Shortage of food is a constant problem for the troops. One of the most vital military successes of 1987 was the securing of a road, rail and pipeline which links Zimbabwe and other landlocked states to the Mozambican port of Beira. Mozambique has 3 ports, at Maputo, the capital, Beira, and in the north, Nacala. All 3 have train lines linking the ports with the landlocked states of the region. If these train lines were fully operational, the bulk of the trade would pass through Mozambique, earning badly needed revenue. With the exception of Beira, all the lines are closed, sabotaged by the MNR bandits. The absence of a reliable service to these ports forces Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Botswana and Zaire to use the ports of South Africa. This forced dependency is the key to South Africa's policy of destabilization in Mozambique. The tragedy of Mozambique lies in its economic potential. This is the Cahora Bassa Dam, high in the mountains on the Zambezi River. It was built when Mozambique was still a Portuguese colony. The aim was to supply South Africa with electricity. The dam is linked to Johannesburg and Pretoria by the longest power cable in the world. Cahora Bassa is capable of producing 6 times Mozambique's electricity needs, leaving vast reserves for export. But the MNR bandits have destroyed over 500 pylons around the country. As a result, the dam is operating at just 0.2% of its capacity. It's only being run to keep from rusting. Ironically, Mozambique's capital, Maputo, is forced to buy half its electricity from South Africa. Mozambique and the other black southern African states are pinning their hopes for the future on their regional organization SADC, the Southern African Development Coordination Conference. It's an organization determined to decrease the frontline states' dependence on apartheid South Africa and to develop economies free from destabilization and destruction. It's an uphill battle, but the member states of SADC are determined to carve out some kind of future for their people.
To one extent or another, everybody in the region is involved in supporting the struggle of the people of South Africa against apartheid.
But the immediate future for Mozambique is bleak. Most Mozambicans feel that so long as the apartheid regime in South Africa continues to exist, Mozambique will never know peace or stability.
South African music continues to get well-deserved attention worldwide. Some classic performances are in a film called Rhythms of Resistance, now available on home video from Shanaki Records.
1,500 men live 16 to a room in this all-male hostel. It's policed and controlled by the city authorities to prevent any spontaneous protests against the conditions they live under. For 6 days a week, black workers do the dirty jobs. But on Saturdays, they reclaim their pride. This is an all-night song contest in a male hostel, performed for fellow workers and their girlfriends. For the song contest itself, the singers must find a judge. The custom is to pick a white man who knows none of the contestants. This judge understands nothing of the music or the Zulu language and has just come out of jail after serving 10 years for armed robbery. From this point on, performances are all aimed at the judge, who, being white, is a complete outsider and so ignorant of black culture that he's considered to be impartial. The judge will choose a winner whose prize is the traditional one.
Order number 1! How little baby, little baby, little baby.
The judge makes his selection.
Give me first, second, third, and fourth.
The goat is more than just a prize. It's a symbol to the singers of their own culture. In place of the white man's money, the goat represents value in traditional African terms. The winners bring the contest to a close with a lullaby.
Thank you for watching South Africa Now. Transcripts are available for $3. Make sure you ask for show 205. For a resource list or to share your comments, send a stamped self-addressed envelope to South Africa Now, the Africa Fund, 198 Broadway, New York, New York, 10038. South Africa Now is produced on a non-profit basis by Global Vision in association with the Africa Fund.
Sana,